Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're in the right place at the right time. I want to thank you guys for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and hang out with us on today. It's a very special day. I get to do a 2 shout out day. Okay, 2 shout outs. First shout out I'm going to give to my mentor, Dr. Hunt. Dr. Hunt and I have been traveling in life together for 30 plus years, and he has been a blessing to both me and my family, as well as I have been a blessing to him and his family. And I talk about my mentor because I want people to understand the value of a mentor. You know, a value of a mentor is someone who has traveled in this life longer than you, and they can help you navigate through these pitfalls that life has to offer. And when we, have somebody that can give us good wisdom and good advice, that helps make life a lot easier. So get a mentor, and then you can be a blessing to you. He can be a blessing to you, and you can be a blessing to him. Now, my second shout out on today, over the weekend, my oldest daughter had her son. And today happens to be her birthday. So my 5th grandchild has come into this planet. And I just got to give a shout out on today to my oldest daughter for her birthday, Dantrell, and her new baby boy. I got a 5th grandson now. So I know I'm prosperous and doing well because, when you got fruit in the earth like that makes you prosperous. So y'all help me give a shout out to my new grandbaby boy and my oldest daughter. She gonna be mad at me. She's 37 today, y'all. I just ratted her out. So all that 27 and 15 stuff, it ain't going nowhere no more. All right, 37, my oldest daughter. But, she is truly healthy. The baby's healthy. All is well. So that's my second shout out for today. All right, I want to invite you guys to go over to my website, ask-dr-ron.com. When you get there, I want you to browse around and get an opportunity to check out all of my advertisers. I have a few of them listed here. We also today, as a guest, has the proprietor of Sir Synergy. So he's going to get a chance to tell you about Sir Synergy himself in person. Osei is in the green room. We're going to get to him in a minute. Also, want to talk about Port Again Sam. Port Again Sam has been with me for almost 15 plus years, and he brings in some of the best wines and spirits from all over the world. And I tell you, if you have never had a wine tasting with Sam, you're missing out on a treat. Sam has your new favorite wine or cognac. You just don't know it yet. So click on the links on the website. Go over to Port Again Sam. Schedule your wine tasting and find your new favorite wine. Also want to talk about Prince Hunter Financial Group. Now, the Prince Hunter Financial Group, we did a 4-part series on last month. We did 4 weeks straight talking about learning about the stock market. Now, a lot of people don't understand about the stock market, but maybe it's time you begin to learn. You can begin the process of understanding how wealth can be made for you and generations to come. So definitely click on the link, go over to the Prince Hunter Financial Group, and they have a special promotion that's related directly to the Ask Dr. Ron show. And that is, if you mention the name of the show, they're going to give you 4 free classes. That's 4 free classes, okay? Get your 4 free classes and be off to a start of understanding about the stock market stock market and how they operate, how it works, how you can make use of millions or maybe some thousands, whichever your vision is, on the stock market. So that being said, I want to tell you guys about our guest on today. He has been on the show many, many times. He comes on the show and he always tells us about his worldly adventures, because this man does not sit still. He lives in Chicago, I think. And I'm beginning to think that he might even be an undercover agent for which country, I have no idea, because he's in every country all across the world. I never know where he gonna be at, and sometimes I'll pick up the phone and call him. Oh, I'm in Singapore. Oh, I don't know. I might be in Brazil. He can't even keep up where he's at his own self half the time. But I welcome him back to the show, my brother, my good friend, Osei. He's back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Dr. Ron, it's a pleasure and honor to be here, and congratulations to you on your new chip into the pool of infinity with your grandson.
Thank you.
Because that is what makes us immortal. Is as long as we keep having those descendants,
Yep.
Your bloodline is safe, right? So
yes, sir.
So congratulations on that.
Yeah, that's a revelation all by itself.
Yes, sir.
My kids, my twins, I got a set of twins, and they always keep teasing me, that we got this thing called Ford Tough.
Okay. Like the F-150,
but it don't mean the same thing as the pickup truck, because they all Ford Tough. They can endure, they can go through.
No doubt.
They say it's in the DNA. It started with me and it keeps on carrying on.
There you go.
Because you got to think about it, man. 37 years old, starting all over again.
No
Her
doubt.
oldest two children. Her oldest child is just turned 16.
Yeah.
And then her oldest daughter is 13. And now she got one 4 days.
Wow. Yeah, I can relate. I can relate.
Yeah, I know you can.
Yeah, I can relate. You're like, man, we're doing this all over again?
Yes.
No doubt.
Well, she's right there with you, brother. Right there with
right.
you. Yeah. So, Osei,
Yes, sir.
I know you've been around the world, and I was jesting when I said Singapore and Brazil, but those are two places you actually have been.
Right. You just
Yeah. So why don't you just share with us what you feel like you can? Okay. I know you got to be covert with it. I understand.
No, I ain't gonna be covert with it. If it's about sharing it with African people, I'm gonna be full disclosure. People of African descent, they're all over the world. But yeah. So yeah, this year did take me actually to those two places. I was in Brazil in June, unfortunately during a very momentous occasion that was taking place here in the Chicagoland area. We're going to get to that in a little bit. But it was so inspiring, enlightening, spiritually rejuvenating in some form. So my wife, who's the co-founder of It Takes a Village Family of Schools and Village Leadership Academy, and we've talked about this in previous shows, which has been around since the school has been around since 2008. And in 2010, they started this component called the World Scholars Program, where they said at third grade, we're going to take a trip somewhere. And third graders on up are eligible to go, self-selection. And so we've been now, what did I count it out, 12 different countries? 11 or 12. The pandemic messed everything up, right? So, so the first country we went to was Brazil. And we went there in 2010, and we didn't know what we were doing, where we were going, nothing like that. And it was by the grace of the Creator that everything went well. And that became the thing to do. And so since that time, so I can count them out now. So that was 2010. That was Brazil. Then we went to Congo in 2011. 2012 was Mexico, the Yucatan Peninsula, to study the Maya civilization. 2013 was South Africa. 2014 was, what was 2014? Dang, I got to come back to that. 2014 was, I think, Panama and Dominican Republic. Yeah, Panama and Dominican Republic. And then we went to Ghana in 2017. 2016 was, 2016 was Cuba. 2017 was Ghana. And then we went to Costa Rica and Guatemala. Then the pandemic happened. And then when we got back to it, we were supposed to go in 2020 to Rwanda. And then now we just went in 2024 to Brazil. So this time though, Brazil was off the chain. I mean, we got, like I said, our first time was Brazil. We went to Bahia. We went to Black Brazil. I mean, very, very clear. We didn't go to Rio. We didn't go to Sao Paulo. We went to Black Brazil. And anybody who's listening who's of African descent, y'all need to go to Black Brazil first. So you get a different perspective and understanding of what Brazil is. Brazil is very similar to the United States in its history, as far as the racial and racism that exists in the system and how it was set up. There are actually more people of color in Brazil now than there are people of European descent, because you also have the indigenous community also mixing in with Europeans and African blood. And Bahia, the state of Bahia, which is to the north, is a predominantly black state in Brazil, and the capital of Bahia is Salvador. And so you were in Salvador, Bahia. Man, and to see how the people there have survived and thrived despite all the issues that they had to deal with, because the Portuguese, who were the colonizers, were vicious. And I'll say for people who just saw Shogun, right? They had this one scene in Shogun where the white dude from England is trying to explain to the Japanese how the Pope basically said, I'm going to split the world in half, and Spain, you got this half, and Portugal, he gave it to them. And the Japanese like, what? He gave us to y'all? But that's how they operated, right? So Portugal had a very large holding in the New World, which is Brazil. That's pretty much all it had. And they were vicious. Spanish were vicious too, don't get me wrong. They were all vicious. Let's be clear. So, but what was different in Brazil is that my elder, and we talk about mentors, and we use the term jegna, which is an Ethiopian term or Abyssinian term, which means keeper of tradition, and a soldier, warrior, keeper of tradition. So jegna. So one of my jegnas, or jenak, is plural, Baba Hannibal Afrique, Baba Hannibal Tias Afrique. He taught us about this concept of a seasoning process, that before we came to the U.S., before we came to North America, we're stopped along the way in Cuba and throughout the Caribbean, and then brought here. Most of our ancestors didn't come directly to North America. They came through the Caribbean. There's exceptions to that. Like if you're familiar with the Gullah Geechee communities off the coast of Georgia and South Carolina, they came straight from Iboland, from Nigeria, right? In Brazil, everybody came right off the boat, right? Literally came right off the boat.
Can I jump in
Please.
just echo what you just said?
Yes, sir.
In history, they had more slaves to be delivered in South America and Brazil than they did in the United States.
Yes, and the population of Brazil, people of African descent, is larger than the population of African. In fact, you'll find more people of African descent in Brazil than you will anywhere else in the world outside of the continent of Africa, right?
That's right.
So yeah, definitely. And
let me
yes, sir.
Let me piggyback off of this too.
Yes, sir.
And those Brazilians that are in where you were at in Salvador Bahia, they keep alive their African.
Oh, I'm getting to that.
You go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm ahead of you. I'm ahead of you.
That's all right. I'm getting to that. And I just want to say this real quickly, Dr. Ron, and I know people have heard and throughout their growing up and understanding history, the term slave, right? And we're really clear. We are human beings. We can talk Black Lives Matter. We are human beings. And so when we were taken from our homes, stolen from our homes, even if we were sold by our so-called leaders, we were still stolen, right? It was not a trade. We did not buy a ticket to get on the Love Boat or get a United Airlines ticket. We were stolen from our homes. But we were people who had skill. We were people who were a contributing factor to our communities. So we always use the term, if we use that word slave in any form or fashion, we talk about enslaved people. But we say very clearly that our ancestors were human beings who had skills, who had families, who were leaders in their community, and were taken for their labor, were taken for their knowledge, right? I mean, from rice farming to blacksmithing to husbandry of animals to farming, I mean, all across the board. That's why we were taken, right? Mm-hmm, and so so the terminology, I just try to, remind us, let's not talk about being slaves. The seasoning process that I talked about, that's what beat us down. That was the first beat down was obviously when they were ravaging through our
Kidnapped.
villages and kidnapping us, right, and going through. And I don't even use the term slave castles, right? That's what you talk about when you go to Elmina, or you go to Cape Coast, or you go to Goree Island off the coast of Senegal. They're not castles. These are torture chambers. Let's be clear. These are centers of world
prisons.
No, we've got to go deeper. These are centers of terrorism. Okay,
right.
When I'm talking about terrorism, those were terrorist cells. Okay, that were set up all along the coast of Africa, right? So when we were brought over here, we were brought for those skills, and when again going to Brazil directly, coming right off the boat, we were put into horrendous situations. You know, and I mean, we talk about in the turn that we talk about, starting with this whole thing called slavery, we call it the Maafa. And the Maafa is a Kiswahili word which means great disaster. That's what has happened to us, and it's still happening to us today, right?
Yeah.
But to your point, one of the things that people of African descent in Brazil were able to do a lot better than we were able to do here was they were able to what I call overlay, if you will, their traditional culture and spiritual system on top of what they were being fed or force-fed, which was Catholicism specifically, Christianity in general, right? And so they were able to say, okay, all right, we're going to go to this church and we have to pray to St. Peter or somebody, you know, St. Joseph. Let's use St. Joseph, right? St. Joseph. I don't even know who these people are, but St. Joseph I know now because when I was in Brazil, there were all these festivals for St. João, but St. João in our system is Shango, right? From the Ifa system out of Nigeria. And that's what they did. They said, okay, all right, I got to go pray to San João, but I'm really seeing this image of Shango who comes from my home, and he has these particular characteristics or attributes, if you will. And they were able to maintain that for centuries, literally. And so we were able to see firsthand, we were able to visit some of the Iles or some of the Trujillos, where the traditional spiritual systems are celebrated. We went to actually an actual quilombo, which was a center of resistance, a village, if you will, or a community where people were able to escape from their enslavement and actually practice their own traditional culture and do it on their own. One of the most famous quilombos is that of the Quilombo dos Palmares, where you hear of the famous heroes Gunga Zumba and Zumbi, who were revolutionaries, who were freedom fighters, who saying, you know, we're going to fight until the last man standing against these Portuguese, and who eventually became Brazilians, to say that we're going to continue to maintain our own sense of self-defense and self-determination and self-respect. And we got to see that legacy still in action, if you will. There are quilombos today. Unfortunately, Palmares no longer exists, but it was the longest lasting quilombo in Brazil. It was like 100 years. And where they were able to break away. Brazil being, you know, not a very, you know, a very somewhat, I don't want to say jungle, but, you know, it gives a certain terminology or perception. But, you know, there's the Amazon, it runs through Brazil. So they were able to go up into the woods and forests and find ways to hide and fortify themselves, and fought, like I said, for 100 years in Palmares against the Portuguese, which became eventually the Brazilians. So that was like awesome. Right? Not only to hear the stories. I don't know if anybody's ever seen it. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. It's a movie called Quilombo, which tells the story of Palmares and Gunga Zumba and Zumbi. It's an awesome movie. It was made in, I want to say, the 80s. It's in Portuguese, but you can get it with English subtitles. But we were able to see this, right? We were able to see not Palmares, but the remnants of that culture, the remnants of that tradition. We were able to visit, like I said, the Trujillos or the Iles, where the traditional spiritual system of Ifa, which in Brazil is known as Candomblé. And again, it's the same system brought directly from the continent of Nigeria. But again, we as a people, and the awesomeness in our existence is that we modify things for our certain situations, right? But the core of it was there. And so when we went to visit this one of the oldest Trujillos in Salvador, we got to sit down with the Baba, with the head of the Trujillo. And he said when the Nigerian spiritual scholars came over and visited with them, and they heard them sing the songs and saw their practice, they were in tears because they said, y'all got this. I mean, you all were able to maintain this after all that oppression and subjugation and, again, terrorism that you had to endure, but you still were able to maintain this. And they were like, they couldn't believe it. It was unbelievable to see this, right? And this is something that a lot of people don't know as well, part of what they brought with them was a fighting art called capoeira, which is actually from not Nigeria, but further south in Angola. And so capoeira now has gotten like a revival. It was outlawed in Brazil because Brazilians were saying, wait a minute, because you see these guys and they're doing these moves and they kicking and they ducking. Like, oh, wait a minute. They actually fighting. And then they said, no, we just playing capoeira. We're just playing capoeira. And Brazil said, no, okay. After a while, they figured out, because it was getting their butt whooped, right, by these capoeiristas, they made it outlawed until I think it was 1933, where it became actually nationally recognized, and now is all over the world. Unfortunately, again, we know how this goes. Whitewashing, right? If you ask who started rock and roll, you say Elvis Presley, right? And we don't even know about all the other, nameless African, people of African descent who did whatever they did, right? They don't even get any credit. So same thing with capoeira. That's happening right now,
Yeah.
So, but again, that whole experience of being in that space, and I gotta give all praise to my sister, Baba Hannibal's daughter, Teresa Charles, also known as Noni Charles, who coordinated this trip. She's been taking groups down to Brazil for years. And when we were setting this up, she was the first person I called. I said, hey, Noni, we got to do the real deal this time. We went back in 2010 and the people we were with actually were calling Candomblé devil worship, and they were doing like this and everything. They didn't even understand it,
Wow.
And she's like, no problem. And so, like I said, we had these awesome experiences, got to touch ground with some serious folks who are saying, hey, we're trying to maintain this. And just like us, though, they're under attack,
Right.
and even in 2024, folks who are practicing the traditional spiritual system of Candomblé, they are literally being killed. They're being persecuted in Brazil, and a sister was just here from Salvador a couple of years ago, and I got a chance to see her while we were there, who was doing some research and presenting to global forums about the religious persecution that's happening today in Brazil. Because these people of African descent are practicing their traditional spiritual system and are being seen by this growing evangelical, I'll call it fascist, movement that is trying to, let's call it whitewash.
Whitewash.
Right?
That's the right word.
Let's call it whitewash.
That's the right word.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was good to see her. We talked with her and actually a friend of mine from Chicago who's relocated down there. He's raising his daughter down there, and the two of them are like stalwart champions for African-centered culture, African-centered spiritual systems, and really trying to push that envelope. Despite all of the serious violence that's taking place around their communities right now. So I can't speak highly enough about that experience. Like I said, for me personally, it was a revival. It was a reawakening. It was a energy boost, if you will, for me to be in that space and to have the conversations and have the experiences with the people that we did. And I can understand why this brother relocated there. I mean, and we beautiful people. You go down you go down there, man. I mean, just the splendor of being around Black folks. And again, this is almost a bubble within Brazil. You go to Rio, you go to Sao Paulo, you don't see this
Different
way.
tourists.
Right?
Those are tourist attractions.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Now tell them about the dance company.
Oh my gosh. So, I tell you, right, I'm going to Brazil, I'm going to be down Salvador, and you say, are you going to Ballet Folklore? I'm like, yeah, we're going to Ballet Folklore. Man, he's like, just tell dude, my guy, when you get there, ask for the artistic director and tell him Ron Ford. And I'm like, okay, all right, yeah, I'm gonna throw a name out, right? So I'm gonna see what happens, right? So we went to Ballet Folklore, which actually plays out some of the traditional culture. They do a capoeira, they do the makulelele, the stick fighting, and they give tribute to the seven major, what they call the seven major Orisha, Shango, Ogun, Oya, Eshu. I mean, and it's awesome, but it's done in like a dance format. And if you don't understand the context, you miss it, right? Awesome show. After the show, we're coming out, and they got everything on lockdown. They're shutting doors. I say, hey. I'm trying to see the artistic director. I'm one of Ron Forrest's guys. And you're like, huh? And so they walk up. I say, okay, well, come on. You can tell him who you're looking for. And I walk up there, and brother's sitting like, what you want? What you want? What you want? And I'm like, I'm one of Ron Forrest's guys. Oh, he's like, come on up, man. Come on. I mean, he's like, what are we talking? Why are we talking? Took a picture with him. I sent it to you immediately. He's like, man, that's my guy. Well, you should have just said that coming up the stairs. I mean, I was like, oh man, my bad, bro. So yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I have had the honor and the privilege of work with them, like literally every other year, with Walston and his dance company.
Yep.
He's been working with the young people over there, teaching them Afrocentric culture. And I mean, they have the original African dance from the continent that they keep alive.
That's right.
As an art form.
That's right.
And
a form of resistance.
Yes, as but when they come to America, they tour, they get standing ovations everywhere they go. And I tell you, it was an honor and a privilege to work with them for almost 10 years. I got posters on my wall right now with autographed signature of all the dancers and all of the crew and the staff. That's why I said, just mention my name. Yep. They know me.
Yep. He's like, hey, that's my guy. That's my brother.
Yep.
So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. So it worked out. I was glad to know that that's where you were going, because I knew that they would look out for you once you got there.
No doubt.
But you were already connected going.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing. Now we're gonna parlay that into Singapore. Now I know that's a one big cultural shock from one to the other.
Man, yeah. So I was in Singapore the month before going to Brazil.
Okay.
And I was there for the Rotary International Convention, 2024 convention. As we've talked about, I'm very active in Rotary International here in Chicago, but also on the international scene. And I try to go to the conventions as I can. This upcoming year in June will be actually a little closer to home. Will be in Calgary, Canada. Unfortunately, there's never been a convention in Africa. The convention will be here in Chicago in 2030. Rotary was started in Chicago in 1905, so 2030 will be the 125th anniversary of Rotary. And so every 25 years, we try, meaning Chicago tries to be the host of that convention, and we did get the bid. So I'll be an integral part of that, making sure that there is a Black voice in the organizing and presentation of it. The convention was in Atlanta in 2017, and I was so disappointed to see some of the local presentation of what Rotary was doing in Atlanta. And I'm like, wait a minute, I was like bug out, like, how come there ain't no brothers and sisters up on the stage? What's going on? I mean, we in Chocolate City here, and we ain't seeing no Black people.
Right.
I'm like, outside, but not in the convention. I was like, no, that's not going to fly when they come to Chicago. We're going to have a presence. And it ain't going to just be, some soul food restaurant over here or a little dance class over here. I mean, that's not, no. So anyway, so I was in Singapore. Singapore is an interesting place. It is, if you know your geography, it's basically all the way down in what's called South Pacific Asia, right? At the tip of what was known as Malaysia before you get to Indonesia. So it's wedged in there. Singapore is a city-state. So it is one city, but it's also a country. It was given independence or got its independence in the 60s. And then when it got its independence, it kind of aligned itself with Malaysia, and they kind of duked it out a little bit. And it's like, nah, we ain't feeling what y'all talking about. And they broke away in 63, 64, and became their own nation. And they decided they wanted to play ball with the West in a certain particular way that Malaysia and Indonesia wasn't trying to do. So they're like, okay, we're gonna go at it our own. And the first prime minister, whose name is escaping me right now, he did not play. He's laid down the law. This is how we finna roll. We ain't dealing with no things like corruption. We're not trying to do that. We're trying to be this hub for Asia. And that's exactly what Singapore is today. Singapore is the financial hub of definitely South Pacific Asia, if not all of Asia. I mean, I went to this Rotary-sponsored event. It was at this restaurant that's out on the ocean or on the bay there. and I walked out to the restaurant. It was all outdoors and everything, and it's a tropical country, so it was like hot every day, which I loved. You walk out and you look out into the water, and there's literally, I mean, probably a couple thousand barges, those big shipping boats, that have like hundreds, if not thousands, of shipping containers on them, all out there in the water, waiting to get clearance to either dock or pass through. I'm like, this is where it's happening. Everything got to come through here. It's like the Panama Canal, in some regards, even though I don't remember seeing that many boats out in the water waiting to get through the canal. I was like, I mean, this is where the financial center of Asia, if not the world, is on and popping, right? So they, like I said, they set up their own system. They're very many of the citizens of Singapore are Chinese expats or descendants of Chinese expatriates who decided to move there to try to find their fortune. And they, it was a port, at one time, and folks was coming there and living in hovels and just trying to eke it out. And now they've created this little empire where you have very wealthy Singaporeans who again have their roots back from China in the most part, and are running the show. And so Crazy Rich Asians if you saw that movie, it's not too far off. I mean, I didn't get to see a lot of that because I ain't in that pool. But you could see. I mean, and so what they have going on, for example, I mean, like architecture, just the architecture alone, it's kind of similar to Dubai, where they decided they're gonna just do it this way. They ain't gonna worry about what conformity is. I mean, some of the stuff that I was like, man, how did they do that? Crime is like a joke. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but folk are like, they ain't worried about it. They ain't worried about looking over their shoulder. I was there for 2 weeks, and I can count on my hand. And I walked around. I was not just sitting in meetings for 2 weeks. I walked around. I was all throughout Chinatown, definitely, and in other parts of Singapore. And I can count on one hand, how many times I saw police. Obvious police. Now, I don't know if there's secret police running around. I don't know. But uniform police, I can say maybe 3 or 4 times that I saw uniform police, and they were usually 2 or 3 together, walking somewhere or something like. But literally, that's it. You're not hearing sirens going by. You're definitely not hearing about nobody getting shot or robbed or stabbed. I didn't see any homeless folks. The trains were immaculate. I mean, you get on like basically the blue line or the red line, and it's like you think you're in somebody's corporate headquarters. It's like immaculate, right? They don't allow you to eat or drink on the train. They got people there with signs reminding you. They have a I don't know if I showed you the picture. They have kind of a formal snitching program, basically Riders on Watch. It's called ROW. And they had this one advertisement for one of the train stations, and they had these kiosks where they had 5 different types of people. They had one person in uniform and just a regular businessman, a housewife. I mean, I'm just using like phenotypes,
examples, right,
of people saying I'm a rider on watch because da 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 da. Like, man, everybody's watching me, but there's no police, right? It now. I mean, it has some of the same challenges as any city, but like I said, I didn't see any homeless people. I understand that if you're an actual citizen, a Singaporean, you can apply for federal assistance for housing. So. But you can't make over a certain limit, but it's like the limit is not that low. It just was amazing to see and experience and talking to people, who were visiting from around the world, because it was an international convention. It was actually not very well attended because of the distance and the expense to get there and expense to stay there, because it is an expensive place. There were only 13, 14,000 people at the convention, which is low for Rotary. But the ones that I got a chance to sit down and talk with, just like, man, some Americans, who are always, we want a democracy, some Americans from Chicago are like, man, I would be willing to give up some of my freedoms to live in a place like this.
I know that's right.
I'm not to have to worry about if I'm gonna get hit over the head or
None of that.
none of that, right?
Right, right.
So it was, I mean, and they go all out. I mean, yes, it's a tourist destination, and then from Singapore you can jump off to a lot of spots. So Bali is like an hour flight away. Literally, Indonesia is across a bridge. Malaysia is across a bridge. But you want to go to Thailand, you go to get to Bangkok, you can go to Hong Kong. I mean, it's you're right there in this, literally in the center of it, right? Yeah, And so it's definitely someplace I would like to see as a hub. Meaning, I would like to, if I would like to go to Bali or whatever, just to, I mean, you see some of these pictures and videos of people being in Bali, like, man, that looks awesome. You don't want to come back from something like that. But I would probably use Singapore as a hub. But Singapore is expensive. I mean, you go into Indonesia from Singapore, and I know folks like some of the Ghanaians I was hanging out with, they're like, yeah, in Indonesia, this stuff was like half price compared to what we were dealing with in Singapore. I'm like, yeah, I get it.
Right.
It was funny, quick story. So I was hanging out with these Ghanaians, and they wanted to go on this tourist attraction. It's a Ferris wheel, like the Ferris wheel over at Navy Pier, right? Mm-hmm. And it's, you pay like, I don't know what it was, $25, $50 to get on or whatever. And Singaporean dollar is not too much far behind the U.S. dollar. And you go through this little, this is the history of Singapore, and then you finally get to the point where you almost get ready to get on the Ferris wheel, and they take a picture, right? And so we all, it's like 4 or 5 of us took a picture, and I was like, I wonder how much that is. And one of the brothers who's in the military back in Ghana, he's like, oh no, it won't be free. I'm like, are you kidding me? Dude, we just paid like $50 to get on this thing. Do you think they're going to give away the picture? No. Well, if they charge us, we'll be contributing to the Singaporean economy. The picture was more than the entry fee to get on the daggone Ferris wheel. And he was like, I can't believe it. I was like, dude, you're in the capitalistic center of the world right here. This part of the world. They're charging for everything. You ain't getting nothing free. Definitely not at a discount. And I was like, I just chuckled though. I mean, that's one of my stories. I was like, dude was like shocked. And I was like, I'm not shocked at all.
Yeah. Well, look, we're going to transition.
Yes, sir.
And like I say, you can have a 2-hour special all by yourself because you got so much to talk about.
Yes, sir.
But since we're at a transition point, I want you to talk about your company for a minute, please. Sure. Most people don't pay it no attention, but you are one of the sponsors to this show.
Yes, sir.
And you come on regularly and you support. I mean, he's a paid sponsor. Let me hear him say that. He will send me a cash transfer and a moment's notice unexpectedly, and I'll be like, yes. But I also, for that, I go out and hustle work for you.
Yes, sir.
I go out there and knock on doors.
Yes, sir.
And I'm like, man, what y'all doing? If y'all ain't dealing with Osei, you ain't dealing with the right people.
Yes, sir.
So just quickly, talk about, Sir Synergy. I even got the name right,
Almost.
So
almost.
Oh, okay.
You put an R in there. Sir Synergy.
Okay.
So the name of the company is Synergy. And it's a concatenation, if you will, of the word energy with an I, not with a Y, and sese. And sese is a Ewe word from Ghana, of the Ewe people, which means to empower, to give power to, right? To give strength to. And so we say that we want to give power. We want to give the power to the people. We want to give energy to our community. We want to empower our communities. And so that's what our whole concept of a company is that, yes, we want to make money as a company. I mean, that's what companies are supposed to do, right? And we are trying to teach people about clean and renewable energy. Right now, the thing is solar, right? Solar is a great segue into being fully green and fully carbon neutral, if not carbon deficit. And so we do workforce development, where we actually work with people to get them into the solar business, understanding solar, how to spell solar, right? Now, and I'm being funny about that, right? But how to understand how solar works, and then be able to apply that to a job. So there's a national organization called NABCEP, the North American Board of Certified Energy Practitioners, NABCEP. And that is the standard, the golden standard for certification in solar in the United States. And actually, NABCEP certification probably can carry you all the way around the world because there's not many other organizations like it in other countries. So our desire is to get everybody prepared to take that first, what they call the associate level test or exam, which would get you a certification. You can put on your resume, I am NABCEP certified. And that has a special meaning in Illinois over the past couple of years because Illinois passed a law called CEJA, the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act, where the state of Illinois has committed $500 million per year, $300 billion over the course of 30 years to building capacity in clean and renewable energy, starting with solar. So, I mean, it also includes wind and hydro as well, but solar is the main focus. And also to build a workforce that's going to be able to service that or build that capacity. It also talks about things like electrical vehicles and all those types of things as well. And so we're trying to fulfill that need. As we know, as Black folks, as BIPOC people, if you want to use that term, these new initiatives come out, or especially budding industries, and historically we've been left out. So CEJA, the law, built into it the concept of equity, Climate and Equitable Jobs Act. It's not a oh yeah, we're gonna get something to Black folks, we're gonna get something to Latino folks. It's no. If you want to play in this space and you want to get access to some of these dollars, you have to follow certain guidelines in order to even qualify to get some of these dollars. And so some of that is you have to come through companies that are certified with the state that are what are called equitable eligible corporate contractors or people. So we are one of those, and we are training people to be those as well. And we're also able to get access to some of those project dollars to be able to say, okay, you want some of that? You got to talk to us first, right? And so and we also do our own project work as well. So we are always trying to help people, as my partner and CEO says, we are about helping people solve the energy equation, right?
Absolutely.
And so that always doesn't mean put panels on my house. It might mean how can I save money on my electric bill, right? How can I save energy? How can I be more energy conscious? What other options are out there besides what we know as traditional heating, cooling, drying my clothes, washing my clothes, these types of things. So we also work in those spaces as well. But right now, as I said, solar is the big thing, is the thing that is going to transition the world off of carbon-based fuels, right? So we're talking about oil, coal, natural gas, nuclear to a certain extent. Nuclear is technically renewable, but someone was just asking me about nuclear the other day. I'm like, but it's the waste. What do you do with that? You know what they do with nuclear waste? They bury it in a mountain, and hope nobody digs it up, right? And hope it doesn't turn everything blue, Right. So, I mean, and solar, I got it, full disclosure, solar is still not a perfect, clean, renewable energy. It does not, you don't burn fuels to generate solar energy, but the process of making solar panels is not a renewable, or it's not a clean process. You have to still burn silicon to make solar cells and then put them on solar panels. So it's not the perfect one, but it is for now, it's relatively inexpensive, and that's only in the past 10, 20 years, and it's relatively easy to do compared to things like hydrogen cells, which is an emerging technology, but it's very expensive, very resource intensive. Hydrogen is, what we know, is the most abundant element in the universe. Hydrogen's in the water you drink, and all that kind of stuff. But trying to capture it and use it as a viable energy source, the technology isn't quite there yet. So that's what we're about. And we've trained a number of people and gotten them certified with NABCEP. We've worked on a number of projects where we're helping people again solve the energy equation and trying to be, we're not. One company that everybody may know of is Sunrun. We're not Sunrun, where you call Osei to put panels on your house. That's not who we are. Now, for you, Dr. Ron, or friends and family, we'll work with you. If nothing else, we'll consult with you to make sure Sunrun ain't running over you. Right. And that's been my biggest frustration, is that people know I'm in this industry, I kind of know how to sell solar, And I get the call, hey, guess what? I got panels on my house. I'm like, why didn't you call me first? I mean, I'm not going to try to sell you nothing. I'm going to try to make sure you don't get sold out.
You get a good deal.
Right. Or just knowledgeable. Right. I mean,
right. Absolutely.
I think I told the story about my auntie, getting panels on her house. And I was like, Auntie, why didn't you call me? But, she's an elder now. So.
After the fact.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
After the fact.
Yeah.
It's funny you should say about hydrogen. I just saw some research. Toyota has created a hydrogen car that they're looking to compete against the electric car.
Mm-hmm.
So technology is evolving in many different directions.
No doubt.
And another one of your trips, I know you were going to Senegal teaching people about this technology. So educator on a worldwide level.
Yes, sir.
So, which brings me to another point that we want to talk about today. Back in June, and I promised everybody that I was going to begin to talk about it in more detail this year before the year is over with, about the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. And, I was blessed enough to be a recipient, and also blessed to put in a position where I can nominate folks to receive the award. And Osei did everything in his power. He even left the country trying not to get this award. He was like ducking it. No, Dr. Ron, I don't want it. I don't want it. And I couldn't wait for him to bring his tail back to the US of A so I can give him this award.
Yes, sir.
Now, many of you all that know Osei, he is a walking blessing, as well as you can tell, a very walking, knowledgeable person about everything that he talks about and puts his hands on. He's an educator of young people. He's an educator of old people. Okay? So, and then he fit the criteria of volunteerism, because that's what the word is, the organization is all about, rewarding people for their volunteerism. And Osei has been nothing but a precious jewel, since I've been knowing him. I mean, we immediately, when I first met him, we clicked and bonded. We've been places. We've talked to people. I remember, and I'm going to go way back on you now, when me and another associate of mine came to you with solar before solar was popular.
That's right. Before people knew what solar was. That's right.
And he turned his coal down, and then like 10 years later, he was like, I got my own company now. I said, what?
Oh my God.
But it wasn't time then, and I understand that. And the president, Obama, was in office at the time, and they did have solar grants available, carbon credits, all of those things that we talk about today, interchangeably, but we were ahead of our time.
No doubt.
When we started talking about it. So it's interesting. I can hold an intelligent conversation about solar with a lot of people because the technology has evolved to the place where it's at now.
Right.
And I totally agree. But it was been my honor and privilege to have something to do with, Osei receiving his Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. And I mean, it is truly an honor, because I only, it was put on my heart to only give or suggest people for the award that were truly worthy of it. And he has truly been that person. Now, he wasn't here for the ceremony in 622. He was out in Brazil with some young people. Young people, sharing life experiences with them. And he still came back all in one piece, because, young people can be rough.
It's not the young people, it's the adults that go, that are the challenge. Let me tell you, young people listen, the adults just do what they want to do.
Right. But yes, sir. Tell us about you receiving the award, what it meant to you, how you feel about it, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir. Well, first, again, Dr. Ron, thank you so much for honoring me with that esteemed award and privilege to be amongst you and others to receive the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. I mean, I'll be honest, and I've had conversations about this with other people, and I still say I don't feel I've done enough. And I know I got a lot more to do. So so you've given me a challenge to make sure that I'm living up to this award. I mean, just like when I was named Osei, I was named Osei as an adult, and it was my elder, my Jegna, Baba Handel Freak, and when he named me Osei, I was like, oh man, now I really got to get serious. I gotta live up to this name. The name means maker of the great. That's what it means. So that's what I saw that as an assignment. I was like, okay, all right, I gotta try to be, that all that, and I mean, I'm I'm a human being. I'm gonna make mistakes, but I got a mission, right? And so now you've given me another mission. I feel I have to live up to this thing. I cannot sit on my laurels and say, well, I've got a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. No, I'm like, wow, I got a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. Man, I better get my stuff together, And so, it's again a great honor. Thank you so much, and to be in this class of people that, including yourself, and now we've created this organization off of your spirit and your strength to be a beacon of Black excellence in our community, and I think that is so sorely needed. So I'm honored to be a part of that, and that's, I think, part of the taking on that mantle and that challenge to say, okay, all right, yeah, we've done some stuff, but we're going to continue to do stuff, and part of that is to make sure that we honor those that don't get on the cover of Ebony Jet, Essence, whatever, and I mean, and these are the folks that, quote unquote, don't fit that type necessarily, right? I mean, these are people who are grassroots, who are doing things on the ground, who are doing it because it needs to be done, not doing it for accolades, or some, reward at the end of the rainbow or something like that. So that's I think our mission. I think that's what we're going to be doing. We've just started meeting again, thanks to you. I mean, you bringing us all together, and we've met now two times already as a group.
Yeah.
And we have plans to do something, I'll say, big in 2026. So we're going to get our, kind of get all of our I's dotted, T's crossed, and make sure that we're and put a criteria above and beyond what the award calls for, because unfortunately we know we're going to get some people say, hey, can I get one of them presidential awards? It's going to be like that, right? I mean, that's reality, and we want to make sure, no, we ain't dealing with no shysters, no Johnny come latelys or whatever. If you're doing the work, then it'll cream rises to the top, right?
Absolutely.
Even though I'm lactose intolerant, but that's not the point. But but it is, I think it's an opportunity for us to again push this concept and theme or paradigm of Black excellence, and we're not limited to Black people, I don't think, but
in my mind we are. Okay.
Right.
In my mind we are.
Well, but I'm saying that we're but this is where we live, right? We're in this community, and so this is
now if they half and half like you, we got to go with them, but
half and half. Oh my God! I just recently talked with a brother who played Sweet Willie in Spook Who Sat by the Door, and he had
right.
And he had some name for me, I can't remember, but he's real light skinned too. And he's like, I remember that scene in the movie, I'm Black and I'm better than you, and he used the N-word, and I'm Black and you, how dare you call me not Black? I'm like, whatever. But my point is that we are going to set the tone for what it means to be excellent, young, gifted, and Black. Lorraine Hansberry said it so long ago, to be not just young, but to be gifted and Black.
Gifted and Black.
Gifted and Black, and to highlight our genius, right? I mean, we're talking about, and I always try to highlight it, on Facebook or whatever, the few times I'm on there these days. It's like, this is African genius. This is African science. Somebody had just posted on one of Neil deGrasse Tyson's fan pages and talked about the belt of Orion as it shines down onto Egypt, and it lines up perfectly with the 3 pyramids of Giza.
Wow.
I mean, it's like, that's, and they didn't do that to impress anybody. They did that because they could, and it could be done, and why not?
Right.
Why not show your connection to the heavens?
Science.
Yeah, why not?
Science.
And so, smart should be cool, So, but unfortunately, it's not. It's how well.
So we've been programmed to believe.
Right. Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So Dr. King, he in one of his speeches, he talks as the drum major instinct. He talked about how it should be about survival of the greatest, but it's unfortunately survival of the slickest. He said it just like that, survival of the slickest. I'm like, ooh,
Right.
So yeah.
Right. Yeah, and you're right. On that day on 6/22 of this year, we had 14 people honored.
Right.
Everybody couldn't make it to the ceremony, but out of that 14, most of them have now been elevated to a level of alumni of receiving this award. So it's by no means for us to sit still. We need to reach back and grab young people and show them the way how to achieve their excellence so one day they can be an award winner. It may not be presidential or whatever the award may be, but it's something that they can grab from all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And out of the 2 meetings that we had, people didn't get a chance on the ceremony day to get a chance to meet each other. So, the first couple of meetings was all about meet and greet.
Right.
So we can see who we got access to, and, I count it an honor and a blessing that the Creator used me to be able to celebrate people that I have been knowing since the 70s. Yeah, 70s.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And people that I have worked with and learned from, because my message to everybody was I didn't get here by myself.
That's right.
And because I didn't get here by myself, I cannot accept this by myself.
That's right.
I got to celebrate each and everybody in their own expertise and honor them because, and this is the whole premise of my show, to give a voice to people that don't have a voice,
right.
The heroes and sheroes in our community that, like you said, nobody 579 don't even know they exist.
That's right.
But when we celebrate them, they still don't need to know who they are because they ain't gonna stop doing what they're doing.
That's right.
And it's a beautiful thing to be able to be a part of something like that. And I thank the Creator each and every day for allowing me to be, the spokesperson of this, and keep pushing it to the next level where it needs to go to. So, you're going to be hearing over the next couple of shows some of the recipients and what they're doing and why they were qualified to be able to receive this, because everybody has a greatness, that we need to know about. Some of them have been on the show and some of them have not.
Right.
And I'm looking forward to celebrating them even the more, so that we can keep on doing what we're doing. Now, I'm speeding up because I know Osei got to get on the road in a few minutes and go teach a class.
Right.
But what I want to do at this moment is, first of all, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to share with us all the things that you're about and all the things that you do, man. I just love you and ain't nothing you can do about it. And I don't have a problem, proclaiming that, and letting people know Osei is somebody you need to know. And if you don't know, you better call that number and ask him. Don't ask nobody else. Ask him. His number's sitting right there.
Yes, sir.
And as always, will you come back and see me again?
Of course, bro. All you got to do is ask. Yeah, no doubt.
All right.
You got to ask. You know that. True. I'm here.
Good. I just got to make sure he ain't in Brazil. And the other thing is, there you go. What would you like to leave with the people on today?
Ooh, what would I like to leave with the people today? Wow. I know I've probably used this one quote before. It's a paraphrase. I just saw today that they're going to make a movie out of this book by the brother Chinua Achebe, Things Fall Apart, and there's some controversy about who they're going to cast. But Chinua Achebe said, and again, it's a paraphrase of what he said. He said that until lions have historians, hunters will continue to be heroes. And it speaks to me so much all the time. We need heroes. We need lions who want to be, historians. We need keepers. I mean, that's what, again, Jegna, the keeper of the tradition. There's still so much about who we are as people of African descent that we don't know. I'm gonna put in the plug real quick. I just purchased this book. It's called Gangsters of Capitalism. And it's by this white cat who talks about this dude who was a general in the United States Marines and how he was part of the building of the empire of the United States in the late 19th century and the early 20th century. And specifically how he basically created the disaster that we know as Haiti today, and it's deep, man. I mean, it's like, but we don't know any of this. We don't know how that happened. All we see is these poor Haitians now with this fool talking about eating cats and stuff like that, pets, in this debate. People don't even know the rich history of the Haitian people and how they should be the shining example of what Black liberation looks like. Because not only did they free themselves from the French, they freed their neighbors, who now is the Dominican Republic, from the Spanish. They said, we're not having slavery on this island at all.
At all.
And unfortunately, the Dominican Republic, they saw that as kind of a second oppressor. Their Independence Day is not independence from Spain, it's independence from Haiti. And Haiti freed them from Spain, so it's like, how you get that mixed up? So we need historians. We need people who are willing to stand the line and be able to, good, bad, and ugly, because it ain't all pretty either about our history, but to stand the line and say, this is who we are, this is what we've done. We need to know our own stories, because what happens, because Hollywood do anything, Hollywood feeds it back to us in a caked up version that is so devoid of what it actually truly was.
Yeah, we got to control our own media.
That's right, our own narrative. We got to tell our own narratives. Yep.
Yeah, and thank you, man. I know you got to run.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you. I love you, man.
Love you
Be
too,
careful
brother.
out there.
Yes, sir. No doubt.
I'm going to go ahead and end the show.
Okay.
I want to invite you guys to join me each and every Saturday from the desk of Dr. Ron. And I tell you, I speak about some of the things that are on my mind, some of the things that have been going on in my heart, and I try to keep everybody up to date on what's going on. So next week, we're going to have another, hopefully, Lifetime Achievement Award recipient. And I'm waiting on him to confirm with me. But if he doesn't, we'll find somebody else that has received the award and get a chance to make you all familiar with them. But please join me each and every Saturday at 12 noon Central Standard Time. And for all those that are here, I want to thank those that have made contributions and donations. Thank you so very much. These are all the ways that you can support what we do. I need your support. I don't get a paycheck for this, but when you all donate, it helps me be able to keep things going, keeps the lights on, all of that. While you're here, please subscribe, hit that like button, and share with somebody. That's all you need to do. And we're out of here for today. I love you, and ain't nothing you can do about it. Stay positive. We control our narrative. We control our narrative, and we just got to stop giving up our power to those that don't share the same optimism or power or blessing that we have. Love you guys.